Welcome back, friends. Zach here, full-time online reseller, and it's Cyber Monday, so I'm coming as per usual with everything I sold this past weekend. Gonna share with you everything that's going out today, and I had 18 items sell in total on eBay over this past 48-hour period. So as per usual, as always, I'll share with you the brand. I'll give you an idea of what I paid for the item, what it sold for, as well as what I charged for shipping. And I'll also give you some advice on what I put in the title or as well the description box. And hopefully that just gives you a better idea of what to put on your listings so it helps you get a better sale. Now, one thing that's cool about me sharing what sold for this weekend is beyond just having a variety of clothing, some hard goods, and a couple cool old vintage toys to share with you, is that I actually had 4 Carhartt pieces sell over the weekend, and they're all different. I will say that none of them are in great condition, but that's often the case when I source and resell Carhartt and a lot of the work utility brands that are out there. So let's go ahead and get down to brass tacks. The very first item will be, again, my business partner, the brand that I sell the most of in my store, and these are Carhartt bib double knee insulated overalls. These are easily found in my area because I live very near southern Colorado. I'm in the high desert, so it gets very cold here in the winter, and we have a lot of industry, we have a lot of oil field, we have a lot of different people who work outdoors, and it gets cold out there in this neck of the country. And so I sell these a lot. This pair, however, had a lot of wear to them. They were probably worn by a welder because there is a lot of small micro burns throughout the front of these pants. And I'm gonna go ahead and stand up. There's also a fair amount of stains and just wear. Now, the back of these overalls were in great condition, but unfortunately, because of all the micro holes as well as the top strap having a small tear in the corner and just some stains, I did let these go on an offer for $42 plus shipping. Normally I try to sell these for right around $55 to $65, but a lot of that is dependent on condition. And as I said earlier, a lot of the workwear I source is used and it's beat up. And so there's still a market for it. And that market is that guy that doesn't want to pay full price. And so I love Carhartt because of its durability. I really prefer the vintage Carhartt pieces, and I love to sell their vintage jackets and their double knee pants, but I sell a whole lot of other different Carhartt items, and I'll share some of those with you as I go down the road. But as for these guys here, when I titled them, I made sure and put duck canvas. I also put the serial number or the model number at the very tail end in the title. A lot of people just like to look that up, and with Carhartt it's very common, at least on eBay, to see that, especially with vintage pieces. Now these guys here, I also in the description box tagged on words like oil filled, construction, I put insulated, I put double knee, I put carpenter, and all of those words again are just gonna help shine a light to a potential buyer who is after this type of item. I love using good specific keywords that correlate the item to that potential buyer, and that's all I'm doing. So as I always say, use your imagination. The beauty behind these though is I sourced them at a local flea market for $8, and so that's a pretty good profit still. I probably could have sat on these and still actually made an extra $5, maybe $10 off of them, and I did have them listed in the low 50s, but I was willing to take an offer because a lot of times the winter items that I have to hold on to are very heavy, especially these, and so towards the end of winter, I'm always making deals, and I just learned to make good deals on winter wear a little earlier in the season, just hoping that I'll move it and that I don't have to keep space or real estate for it in my storage. So that's the first Carhartt piece I have to share with you. Now the next item that sold is a cool piece of my childhood. This is an Atari Asteroids vintage game. It's in the box. It has the original instruction manual with it. And this didn't sell for a ton of money, but I only gave $1 for this. I picked up a bunch of these at my local thrift store. I bought the whole lot of them for $1 a piece. There was several in there that were worth $20 to $30, but most of them were only worth about $10 to $15. And so this guy I took an offer on, and it sold for $12 plus $5 shipping. Still good profit. I love selling old vintage video games and old toys from when I was a kid. It keeps me young, and I always suggest in these videos that you gotta source and sell things that you're connected to. You also got to be careful to not buy items that won't resell because there's no desire. But for me, this old vintage stuff like this, it does sell. And when I can pick it up for nothing, I'll be happy to see it go. Now, as for in the title, I was just good about putting box condition. I put that the box was in good condition. I also made sure and took pictures of the manuals, and I laid everything out, took several angles front and back of the box as well as the game. And I just basically in the description box put Atari game collectors collection. I didn't put a whole lot of keywords, and this guy still sold, made me some profit. Happy to see it go out the door. So next item up to bat is another Carhartt piece, and these are some double knee carpenter pants. Now these are not vintage, these are of the newer relax fit style. And what I find with the newer Carhartt canvas is it is just lighter weight, it's not as heavy, it doesn't feel as durable, but that doesn't matter because I still sell the double knee pants really well. And what I mean by double knee is these guys have an extra piece of fabric that's been attached over the front thighs, and it's really helpful for people who are in landscaping, they're in carpentry, they're plumbers, they're electricians, people that have to work on the ground or get up and down a lot, really want jeans that the knees won't wear out. So there's other brands that make double knee type pants, but Carhartt to me is the king. These, however, are not vintage, and these had some paint stains on them, as well as some shrinkage in the waist. So definitely be measuring your used Carhartt canvas pants. They can shrink. I did that. I just was good about denoting the stains as well as the shrinkage in the waist. These sold on an offer for $30 plus shipping, and I only paid $8.99 for these at a thrift about a month, maybe a month and a half ago. So double knee pants really sell well for me. It's not uncommon to find vintage double knee pants, and if you can get them in an odd color like gravel gray, those can sell for some serious money. I've sold 2 different pairs of gravel gray double knee Carhartt pants for over $80. Both pair actually shipped internationally to Japan, and there's just a big following of people in that country that love vintage clothing, especially work utility, but they also love that vintage adventure apparel, Gorp, the North Face, the Patagonia. So be on the lookout for Carhartt double knee pants. Had these not had the stains and not had the shrinkage in the waist, I probably would have charged more for them, and I generally will price the vintage ones right around $40 to $50, even if they are stained. Not uncommon for them to have wear, but again, go back to your work utility title words. You're going to want to put duck canvas and double knee in your title, and then in your description, go back to all those blue collar occupations, the construction, the oil field. You could put trucker, heavy equipment operator, welder, pipeline, so on and so forth. Just use your imagination. I love Carhartt. The reason I love Carhartt though is, again, I live in a very rural area, a lot of farmland, we have a lot of industry, and so I can just source Carhartt probably easier than somebody that lives in the big city. So I'm a little bit spoiled in that aspect. It's just due to the nature of where I live. So I always say this, and I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. Source items that are predominant and prevalent in your area. It makes finding the good stuff much easier. And so another big push for me is adventure apparel, Gorp, outdoor, athletic apparel. And so I sourced this specialized t-shirt just less than a month ago from a thrift store in Durango, Colorado. I believe I only gave $3 for it. It is new with tag, but it was a size small, which is a hard sell for a men's shirt. And I don't make a whole lot off of t-shirts. I make a little bit more, or I can sell t-shirts that are new with tags a little bit faster, but any type of item that still has the tags on it, I will never be able to sell for full retail price. And if I can get 50 to 60% of what that retail tag is, I'm usually happy. This shirt was originally priced at, I believe, like 25 and some change. It sold for $15.80, and I also charged $5.95 shipping for it. I find a lot of different mountain bike brands where I live because I'm so close to southern Colorado, but even in the area of northern New Mexico I live in, mountain biking is huge. So again, this is just a brand that is commonly found in my area. I found it, I listed it, and now I made some money off of it. So next item up to bat is an item that my grandmother always had. She always had Pyrex and Corningware, and so I sourced this at a yard sale midsummer just a few months back. I think I gave $8 for it. This is a 5-quart casserole dish with lid. It is very clean. It's in good condition, which is odd because sometimes they have some chips in the lids and sometimes some staining on the dish itself. But this bad boy sold on an offer for $37. I also tacked on a fair amount of shipping. I charged $14 shipping due to the fragile nature of this item as well as how heavy it is. But again, I did not pay that much for it. When I list items like this, I'm just very good about putting the model number. I also want to put any flaws because it's not uncommon for these glass lids to be chipped up or again for the dish to have stains. So I just take a lot of good pictures and then I'll put vintage Corningware in the description. I'll put kitchen, cooking, holidays, and this time of year is a really great time of year to sell these old vintage casserole dishes. Some grandmother, some mother, she broke hers, and so she's just wanting to make green bean casserole or sweet potato casserole or something like that for the holidays, and she doesn't want to go out and buy a new one because the older ones work better. And so again, that's where people like me come in. I like selling stuff like this because it breaks the monotony of just selling clothing, and in the summertime I can find stuff like this for dirt cheap. So that's a big reason behind why I still like to sell some hard goods, but I would say I am primarily a clothing seller. I just consider myself an everything reseller because I like to be choosy and I like to sell cool hard goods when I can find them. So next item up to bat is a bread and butter brand, and I sell a lot of this brand in men's jeans, but I also sell a lot of Cody James jeans in boys sizes. I sell a lot of their Western shirts. So I picked these up for $2 not too long back at an end of season garage sale. These bad boys here were in incredibly clean shape. I sold these for $17. I charged $7 shipping. Words I like to put in the title are cowboy, I'll put rodeo, and then in the description box, I'm always good about denoting if the item has any whiskering, which is the lines below the pockets that look like fading. I'll also put if there's thick stitching, and these do stitching, that just means that they're more durable, they're tougher in the waist as well as on the side seams, and I like to be good about denoting with youth jeans if they're adjustable. These were adjustable, so they have the button adjustments on the inside, and I'm just always good about denoting the current size of the item. You want to be measuring your denim, you want to be measuring just about anything. The longer I resell, the more I realize that there's just particular buyers who want to know a little bit more about the item beyond what the size tag says, and used items have a tendency to shrink, so just be mindful of that, and remember, taking that few extra seconds or a few extra minutes to take those measurements and list them will just help improve your sales, the overall quality of your store, and it will lead to less negative feedback. These guys go. Love selling Western wear. It's easy to find where I live, and that's why I like to push it. So here's another vintage Western wear piece. I let these go a little bit cheaper than I normally would. Generally, I try to get at least $25 for Rocky high waist jeans. I sourced these just a few weeks back, and I did pay up for these. I bought several pair for $10.49 a piece, so I let these go a little bit lower than I'd want to, but I had some rationale. I'm very top heavy on women's jeans right now. I just haven't been selling a whole lot of them, so my very basic jeans, the ones that aren't worth a whole lot or real fancy, I've been selling at a little bit more of a better sales price and sending out more aggressive offers. But Rocky high waist jeans were very popular in the 80s and 90s, and so be on the lookout. They're still very popular. They have a following. Trust me, I sell a lot of these. The things to look out for the ones that sell for a lot more money are the ones that might have patchwork, or maybe they're acid washed, or the ones that come in bright colors. I currently have a pair of Rocky high waist jeans that are in a pink colorway, and I think I have those listed right now for just right under $50. I've got a lot of viewers, a lot of watchers, and with those jeans, I'm not gonna make really any deals on them. I can be patient because I know that that pink colorway in that type of jean, that brand is rare. As for these dark wash jeans, typically right around $25 is a good selling point. These again went for $21. I did charge $8.95 shipping, and again, I did pay up on these. $10.49 at a thrift store, but they moved in 2 weeks, so I'm good with that. Now, it's only appropriate that I'm sharing with you a whole lot of Carhartt, which in my opinion is the king or the top tier of work utility workwear, but I also sell towards the bottom. And I don't want to say that Dickies is a bad brand, but it's not a real great brand to sell when it comes to their utility pants. I sourced these pants almost several years back. Now I did buy into them for $2. I bought 3 pair. The other 2 pairs sold a lot quicker. I'm not certain why these didn't sell faster. It might just be that Dickies is kind of low tier. And again, that's not to say that it's not good quality, but I did only sell these for $8 and some change. I did charge $10 for shipping because these are heavy. They are duck canvas. When it came to the title, I was good about putting work utility. I put duck canvas, and then in the description box, I went back to all those same workwear, work utility keywords. I put the construction, I put oil field, I put driller, I put offshore, and all of those again are just gonna help you to sell an item like this. I would love to only deal in Carhartt, but the truth is that I actually find a lot of those lower tier work utility brands a lot more prevalently, and that's just because they're cheaper. When I do find them though, I can't sell them for as much, but you can use a lot of the same keywords from Carhartt items to these other low tier work utility items. And I did that with these Dickies pants. Just glad to see them go. They've been sitting for a long time and I was happy to make a deal on them. And so now I'm gonna go to some Gorp or some adventure apparel. These are Black Diamond men's Primaloft leather palmed gloves. These I picked up for $5.99 just about a month and a half ago up in Colorado at a thrift store. These bad boys here sold on an offer for $22 plus $6.95 shipping. $22 to $25 is right about where these sell for, so I'm good with that. I had a lot of low-end offers on these, a lot of low ballers come at me for quite some time, but I knew I could at least get $21, $22 because of one reason. Black Diamond is a super quality brand, and so I don't care too much for a lot of their vintage stuff, but any of their newer, more modern stuff I've sold, and I've sold very quickly. It sells for a very good premium price, and Black Diamond, I believe, is really a mountain climbing brand, but again, a Gorp brand, an outdoor adventure apparel brand. So I'm happy to see these guys go. Again, I'm gonna use all those Gorp words. I'll put trail, backcountry, backpacking. I went as far as putting skiing, snowshoeing. I put snow machine, and anybody who's out there in the cold is gonna wanna cover their hands, especially if they're doing any type of outdoor activity. So I just tacked on all of those different outdoor winter sports activities that one could be doing while wearing these Black Diamond gloves, and they sold for me. So yeah, happy to see them move. Now, next item up to bat is a vintage Tiger Skip It toy. Now, one of my first girlfriends, she lived right down the road from me. She was a sweetheart. I'm still dear family friends with her and a bunch of her extended family. She had one of these bad boys. She would jump for hours on it. And her brothers also had one, but I think we just swung it at each other like a weapon. But anything made by Tiger, whether it is a Skip It toy, whether it's an electronic toy, and if it's vintage, probably has some type of resale value. It may not sell for a whole lot, but if it's in good shape, it could sell for some decent money. I only gave $5.49 for this toy just a few weeks back at my local Goodwill. I was tickled because I love sourcing old toys, especially from my generation. And I had this listed for $35. It sold in less than a week on an offer for $30, and I got some good shipping out of it. And again, I only paid $5.49 for it. So love to see the vintage toys move. It makes me feel like a kid. It keeps me young, and it keeps me engaged and interested in doing this. Now this here is not Mary Mushroom, but this is kind of a knockoff. I'm almost certain that it's not Mary Mushroom. If there's any Mary Mushroom collectors out there, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I just simply listed this as a vintage mushroom stock pot. This bad boy did sit for about 5-6 months, but this old Mary Mushroom type vintage homeware stuff, whether it be canisters, pots and pans, or just decorative items, does have a market. People like that old mushroom stuff. It's made a comeback. It's still hot. Now, the original Mary Mushroom, I believe, was made by Sears, and I think it was produced in maybe the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I could be a little bit wrong on my time frames, But be on the lookout for any of this type of vintage mushroom stuff, but you definitely don't want to list it as Mary Mushroom if it's not, and I don't believe this was. This item, however, still sold for me for $24. I charged $9.80 shipping on this item, and I only gave $2 for this at a yard sale, 200 pennies, 8 quarters. That's a good profit. It did sit for a while, but I'm happy to see it move. And this time of year, people are buying stuff like this for gifts. Maybe they're just looking to help replace an item a loved one lost or broke. And again, that's where people like me come in, and we sell items to help replace what has been broken, tarnished, lost, or maybe even stolen. So got a really great sale here. Harley Davidson women's leather jacket. This jacket, I'm not gonna lie, has some scuffs, some scratches. It almost looks like the rider went down on their bike. I was just good about denoting that. The tassels on it, however, were in pretty good shape, but it also had a pin that was added to the chest. I just left that pin on there and I denoted it in the listing. I love selling Harley Davidson. Leather items sell well, but they're very heavy, so make sure that you tack on a good amount of shipping. This puppy has some weight to it. When I list Harley Davidson items, I'm always using keywords like HD Apparel, which stands for Harley Davidson. I'll put MC or Motorcycle Club. I'll put Easy Rider, Travel, Vacation, Open Road. I'll even put Wild Hogs because that movie about bikers was popular. Yeah, it helps, trust me. And so this bad boy here, paid $20 for this at a yard sale. It was a couple wealthy individuals I had purchased items for the prior summer, so they recognized me. I bought a lot of goods, which helped drive the price down because originally they wanted $30 for this jacket, but by buying a lot of items, that helped to get this item down, and I only gave $20 for it. I sold this Harley Davidson jacket for $90.72 on an offer, and then I charged $13 shipping. So yeah, happy to see it go. And Harley Davidson, don't sleep on their jackets. All right, so winding it down now, got some vintage cast iron. This is a Wagner ware vintage muffin pan. This bad boy is heavy. I had a hard time actually locating this exact model, so I just kind of had to take a ballpark guess on what to price it at. Had it priced in the mid 40s. It did not have many watchers or views, and that's probably because there was a lot of different models of Wagner ware muffin tins, and this just probably wasn't one that was extremely popular. So I did go ahead and notch the price down several times, just minutely over the last few months. And when I realized that I was finally getting some views and watchers, that was an indicator that I should probably just sit on that price. And this bad boy did finally sell. It sold for $37, but I charged $16.95 shipping on it. And the big reason I have to do that is because I'm located in northern New Mexico, and I would estimate about 70% of the vintage hard goods I sell go to the East Coast, which means I have to ship them much further than items that may just go to California from where I live. And so for that reason, I'm a little bit more aggressive, especially with heavier vintage items, about upcharging on the price. Cast iron is pretty sturdy stuff, but I will still wrap this up in bubble wrap. I actually had a Griswold pan handle break on me. So yes, cast iron can break. You're gonna still wanna wrap it up and wrap it up with care. This guy though is just a little brick. It's solid, and there is a whole following of people that love Wagner ware. When it comes to cast iron, I try to stick to just 3 brands, but there's a couple other good ones out there. My top 3 are Wagner ware, Griswold, and I love Dixie Foundry, but Dixie Foundry is a little more rare and a little harder to find. This stuff can be hard to find when I go to garage sales because old men are outsourcing it, but when I can find it, I'm always stoked. I picked up this piece actually at a garage sale and I gave $4 for it. But again, I bought a whole bunch of stuff, which only helped to get me a better deal on this item. I'm happy to see it go. So now I am down to just a couple more pieces. This last or only pair of shoes I sold over the weekend is a pair of Sense of Motion minimalist shoes. These are made in America, and so keep an eye out. Any brand that has an American flag on it, look it up, look up the solds, look up the completeds. It might sell for a good amount of money, and that's just because there's less and less brands made in America and made with good American quality. Minimalist shoes are very popular. I actually tried these on. They made me feel like I was wearing clown shoes, but they were very comfortable and they were my size. I just didn't feel like they were worth the keep, and I don't need any more shoes because I already got a lot. And so I let these guys go on an offer. Initially, I think I had them priced at about $44, which is a competitive price for this shoe model. These actually did sell in about a month and a half for $39 on an offer, and I did charge some shipping. I got $8.95. I did pay up on these $10.49 at my local Goodwill, but again, they had a good sell-through rate. I was confident in the brand, and it was easy to list because they're made in America. So can't beat that. I wish there was more stuff made in America. It's just how it is. So this is a Daniel Cremieux trucker jacket. I had a hard time trying to price this. There really wasn't any past sold history on this exact jacket, but it had a couple things going for it. So I just accentuated the style, and that's because the brand wasn't really strong, and that's because there wasn't a lot of desire. So I was good about putting that it was made of corduroy, and also on the title I put that it was trucker style, and that's just the style of how the front pockets were shaped and how the item was sewn to the front of the jacket. So it very much resembles a trucker jacket like you might see made by Levi's. And I did price this, I think, at $27. It did sell on an offer for $24. And I only gave $4 for this. I did charge some shipping out of the deal. I really didn't think that this jacket would sell very fast, even priced at a rock bottom amount. But corduroy does do well, and Daniel Cremieux is not a bad brand. It's a quality brand that is sold in Dillard's and some high-end department stores. I've just never had much luck selling it. It's not to say that maybe there are some good items in some of their lines, but I'm still happy to see it go. I love sourcing jackets for really cheap, and sometimes in the summer, if I can find a corduroy jacket that maybe not the best brand, I'll just really try to accentuate what it's made of when I create my title. And so just know that you can sell a lot of items based on their brand, and that's what a lot of us do. But sometimes an item like that might not be the strongest reselling brand, just accentuate the materials, maybe what the item looks like, and that will help to boost it and help to get a faster sale. So winding it down with, again, a couple of my bread and butter items. And so we're back to Carhartt. This is a Carhartt shacket. This item I sourced in the summer, so I've been sitting on it for several months. I listed it and it sold in like 72 hours, but this Carhartt shacket was Sherpa lined. Unfortunately, both of the elbows had holes in it and it had some stains to which I wasn't able to wash out. Normally I would sell this jacket for in the 40s, maybe even close to 50 if it was very clean and it was a plus size, but this jacket was only large and it had some flaws. So I did list this, and I believe I sold it for like $24, and I charged $10.95 shipping for it, but I only gave $3.50. Now, a lot of brands out there I would not buy with stains and with holes in the elbow, but Carhartt is one of those brands that you can just expect it to be wore out. One of the things that helped this item was that it was a shacket, which means that it's a shirt jacket and it has side pockets that you can put your hands in, but that it was Sherpa lined. So I definitely put that in the title. As for the description, I went back to all my workwear, my work utility words. I put oil filled construction, concrete finisher, I put house framer, I put landscaper, you name it. And so just use your imagination. Again, find brands that are common in your area, find what really sells well from their lines and go to town with them. That's where I've had lots of success with Carhartt. But here's another brand that I sell a lot of, and it's kind of saturated, so I'm particular about what I do buy. This vest I picked up just for a couple dollars. I have been sitting on this vest for over a year. I'm surprised that it didn't sell a little bit quicker. That might just be a sign that North Face women's vests are kind of saturated. I did drop the price on this several times. It only ended up selling on an offer for $13. I did charge $6 shipping, but I only paid a couple dollars for it, so I'm happy to see it finally go. Generally, most North Face vests will sell a lot quicker, but this had no downfill. It was just synthetic material. It was very lightweight, and I think I listed it as a runner's vest for that reason, and that may have been why it didn't sell very quickly. But again, it's Gorp, so I'm always going to put Gorp and Gorp Core in the title, and then when I get to the description box, I'm going to go back to all of those outdoor, outside, trail, camping, backpacking, hiking, mountaineering, all of those keywords that those mountain folks, those skiers, those outdoorsy type people like to look up and like to use to search for items like this. So glad to see it go. I'm down to my very last item, so I hope you've made it this far. If you have, please reach out there, hit that like button. I love sharing what I sell. I love sharing what I source and how I do this. And I love doing it because somebody did it for me. And so that's a big reason I love sharing and doing my YouTube channel, is it's just a big part of the give back. And I feel like when I'm able to give back my knowledge, my resources, it's gonna help somebody else down the road. And that has a huge karmic enchantment effect. And when you do good and put good out in the world, good always comes back to you. And so here's proof of that. This is a Carhartt jacket that I picked up over the summer. I gave $10 for this jacket. A very basic Arctic style jacket. The problem with this jacket was that the size tag had washed out, so I simply just took some very detailed measures of it. It did have some stains and flaws, which again is very common with Carhartt. Most of these Arctic jackets I try to sell for about $65 to $80, but that's dependent on size and condition. There's just a lot of these out there. I forget the actual number. These are really common and easy to find. So again, they don't sell for as much. The Carhartt jackets that I really love to sell are the more rare Detroit mechanic style jackets when I can find them, the hooded bomber jackets, and I love finding the old Western dusters. Any type of Carhartt jacket that's a funky, odd color will generally sell for more. If you can find the spruce green jackets or the gravel gray jackets, those always sell for better money. Obviously, the colorway black sells well. This was a nice like olive drab. I'm actually surprised that this didn't sell sooner for a little bit more money, because I've had this listed since late summer, but all things said, it's still sold for $59. I got $12 shipping out of it, and it was a sweet garage sale score. So that's it, my friends. That's my total. I sold 18 items this weekend for a total of $767.50. And I can promise you that all of those 18 items I paid less than $150 for, probably less than $100 in all actuality. But I did have to sit on these items. I had to list them, I had to clean them, I had to give them some love, some real estate, and then I had to share them with the viewing audience so that that person would come around, that right person, and buy them. So that's it, my friends. As always, if you like this live stream, please reach out there, hit that like button. If you like watching full-length content where I go out and source undervalued and underappreciated new and used items, goods, clothing, and shoes, please subscribe. I'd love to have you follow along. And as always, we'll do it again next time. Thanks for joining.